guys, Spy here, and welcome back to another episode of Kyle is Famous. Kyle is Hotdog DLC. Okay, there is 5 endings left, I think.
Kyle thought
Right?
very carefully about the first
Should be
move of
5.
his day.
1, 2. Okay, there's 3. Don't talk about that. My math is wrong. Because apparently I did 2 of them. Which ones did I do? Because, okay, I know I did the Leprechaun one. Which is Kyle ate the leprechauns. I did that one. And then Kyle was left alone. Okay, so there is one where we fight the leprechauns, protect Gabby, and then there is another one which engaged in personal engagement. Okay. Let's do protect Gabby. Become a hot dog salesman. Skip the dialogue. Start the day. Open the closet, because you always gotta open the closet. Choose the outfit.
Kyle
Become a hot dog suit, man.
Kyle put on his hot dog suit.
I do not eat my clothes. Good. Okay, back to the room, sit at the desk, check in the desk drawer, get the small key, go back to the desk, go back to the room. Try scavenge? No. I go to the hallway, I go to the pantry. That's the kitchen, check pantry, unlock, look in pantry,
Instead of an
grab
assortment
the hot dogs.
Kyle searched around the pantry.
Oh.
After a few minutes of...
Okay. Turn to the hallway, leave apartment, visit downstairs neighbor, consume Gabby.
Kyle unhinged his jaw and swallowed Gabby whole. Job done, Kyle returned to the middle of the street.
Poor Gabby. Okay, and then we have eaten Gabby. We skipped to the end of the day.
Kyle made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. As he unpacked, Kyle realized he had never gotten a food cart to make his hot dogs in. Kyle had no choice but to place his hot dogs on the ground. Looking at the hot dogs strewn across the sidewalk, Kyle realized he had found a golden opportunity. Kyle began to roll his hot dogs around in the dirt, pressing firmly so it would be embedded into the food. After a while, his back became sore from bending over. Kyle continued with the bottom of his shoe. Soon, all of the hot dogs had been sufficiently seasoned. Kyle swept his hot dogs into a pile and sat on the concrete next to them.
Produce Gabby, okay. Throw up Gabby.
Then, Kyle spat Gabby out of his mouth. Gabby tumbled to the ground. She stared at Kyle. "Gabby," said Kyle, "I need you to be my hot dog cart because I forgot to bring one." "Kyle, I really don't want to do that." Gabby got to her feet to go back to her house. But then Kyle had an idea. "Gabby, no," said Kyle excitedly. "You will sell my hot dogs and I will be your table."
That sounds like a kink.
Kyle got down on his hands and knees and motioned with his head for Gabby to come over.
Yep, definitely.
Gabby pursed her lips, but having nothing better to do, decided to play along. Gabby piled the hot dogs on top of Kyle, sat on the ground behind him, and stared forward with a bored look. Within a few minutes, a curious crowd of observers had gathered. Gabby looked at them but did not speak. Kyle began to grow worried. "Gabby," he whispered, prodding her knee, "you need to tell them to buy my hot dogs." Gabby smoothly put her hand on Kyle's mouth and then addressed the crowd. "Hello, everyone," said Gabby. "It is time." Gabby immediately started ballooning in size, sprouting new arms and mouths from every part of her body.
What?
The mouths on her body opened and started to spit out camera bots. They crawled away to scour the city.
What?
Gabby had turned into her ultimate form of the Mega Bug Vigilante.
I thought you weren't the Mega Bug Vigilante, Gabby. I thought you weren't. No.
Under Gabby's watch, crime was completely eliminated in the city. Peace was everywhere. But over the coming months, Gabby continued to grow and produce camera bots. Eventually, the city was completely covered by Gabby's body and creations. There was little room to sit or walk. During this time, Kyle conducted many interviews on the current state of Gabby and the benefits and deficits of her reign. But through this new, exciting, distinctive time in his life, Kyle felt a bit empty. He did not manage to sell a single hot dog.
Finally, a new trail. Okay. Main menu. Unlocks. Okay. This is a red. This is a red blip. Makes me feel passionate. Super dupe. Swoop doop and gloop gloop. The gray blip. No trail involved. Oh. Cool. Okay, we start the day.
Kyle woke up.
Okay, skip. Change jobs.
Kyle
Become a
thought
hot
very-
dog salesman.
Kyle laid in.
We skip that. We start the day. We open the closet as normal. We choose an outfit,
Kyle
and of course,
decided to
it's
take-
always going to be the hot
Kyle
dog
put
suit.
on
And
his-
then we have to eat
Feeling
our clothes
fairly
because
hungry, Kyle
that's
bent
normal.
over and took a large bite out of his suit. He felt refreshed.
I still hate how he says that.
It wasn't enough. Kyle continued to eat his clothing.
Soon.
Soon, Kyle had eaten most of the suit. The chunks that were left were enough to act as clothes, but barely.
Okay.
Kyle
Okay.
felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
There we go. We get 7 hours back. Lovely. Okay, we sit at the desk. We check the desk drawer. We get the small
Kyle
key.
grabbed the small key he kept in his desk.
We go back, and then we go to the hallway, and then we go to the locked door.
Kyle-
We use hot dog
with a hum
magic.
and a
Open the
pop.
locked door.
Kyle
Stop eating the hot dog. Just, no. Get the hot dog stand.
Kyle started looking around for anything he could. Kyle rooted around the scattered boxes and loot.
Back to the hallway, move to the kitchen, check the pantry,
Kyle-
unlock with the small
pantry-
key, grab the
instead of an
actual
assort-
hot dogs for once
Kyle
in our
searched
life.
around the pantry.
Then go back, and then we go back. We have the hot dogs. We return to the hallway. Let's skip to the end of the day.
Kyle made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. Kyle took out his cart pieces and began to assemble them. With a little trouble, Kyle was able to finish constructing a serviceable hot dog stand. Kyle then started to place the hot dogs he had brought into the cart. They were cold, but Kyle had never cooked his hot dogs as a child and didn't want to start now.
Why would you want to eat a cold hot dog? It makes no
His prep
sense.
finished, Kyle looked around and smiled, waiting
Okay,
for his
cold,
first
uncooked
customer.
hot dog.
It was then that Kyle realized he had not bothered to acquire any advertisement for his cart. If the hot dog stand would be a success, Kyle realized he would need to advertise all on his own. Kyle thought about his advertising options.
Luck.
Kyle figured that he would just get lucky and everything would work out okay. As people passed by, Kyle looked at them intently and grinned. Few noticed him. Those that noticed didn't stop. Soon, Kyle realized that in order to sell hot dogs, he needed to become more lucky. Kyle picked up his things and walked over to the local leprechaun pit.
The world just has a
Leprechauns began
local
crawling out of the
leprechaun pit.
depths and circled around Kyle. A single elder leprechaun stepped forward, twirling his beard with one finger.
What seeketh this man from the council of the leprechauns and disturb us from our slumber?
Asked the leprechaun. Kyle spoke confidently. I want to sell hot dogs. The leprechaun smiled and began stroking his chin.
Oh, yes, I understand.
The leprechaun turned around.
We can give you what you search for,
Said the leprechaun.
but be aware it will not come easily.
Kyle paused, thinking about the offer.
Okay, we decline.
The leprechauns looked at Kyle, tears in their eyes. The lead leprechaun turned back to Kyle sadly.
Is our leprechaun magic not pleasing to you?
I already know what happens if I accept. They all climb down my throat, And then they don't imbue me with their leprechaun luck magic shit. And then I just spend my rest of my life throwing up leprechauns. It doesn't work. Leprechauns are a false deity.
Kyle did not know
entity,
what to say.
Whatever.
He stared blankly forward, saddened to cause disappointment.
Don't you dare accept, Kyle. Don't fall for their leprechaun lies.
Devastated. They hung their heads and slowly crawled back into their pit. Kyle was silent. He shuffled his feet awkwardly. Then, in a moment of pure empathy, Kyle flung himself into the leprechaun pit. Kyle landed on top of the leprechauns, immediately squishing them all.
Well, that wasn't going to work out anyway, Kyle. You're a little bit too dumpy to land in the leprechaun pit and think all the leprechauns would live.
Within a few short moments, Kyle had destroyed years of Irish history and legend. Kyle realized what had happened. He sheepishly crawled out of the pit
covered
and
in
back
leprechaun
to his
gore.
apartment.
And boar.
He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. After several hours, Kyle decided to never try to change his career again.
Destroyed culture. Yeah, okay. Sit to day end. Okay, let's just skip all of this.
Without hesitation, Kyle craned his neck towards the sky and let loose a...
To the end of the day.
After...
Okay. Let's not be too hasty with my clicking.
Kyle thought about his
personal
advertising
engagement.
options.
This should be the last ending for Kyle as Hotdog.
Kyle could not think of a better marketing strategy than good old-fashioned personal connection. Kyle waited for a pedestrian to walk by. Soon, a young couple walked towards him, holding hands and laughing with each other. "Hey, you," Kyle whispered. "There's something I need you to do for me." Kyle drew the man's hand from in front of his face and down to rest on the pile of hot dogs on his cart. He patted the top of the man's hand. There was a long, long silence. Nobody moved. Then Kyle got bored and started repeatedly smashing his own face into the hot dog pile. "Buy my hot dogs, please!" Kyle started to scream uncontrollably. The couple stood, frozen, watching Kyle bludgeon his face against the cart. Then, suddenly, Kyle used his deep knowledge of hot dog magic to start shooting hot dogs from his fingertips.
Because of course he did.
Kyle shot the hot dogs across every part of the street. They came out of his fingers in massive amounts. Kyle couldn't resist.
I have a comment. I'm not going to say it.
He tipped his fingers into his mouth and began to consume all of the hot dogs himself. Kyle didn't stop eating the hot dogs flying from his fingers. He continued to eat all evening and into the next day.
Oh boy.
Kyle didn't want to stop eating, but he knew he had responsibilities to take care of. Kyle started to walk to his studio, keeping his hands lodged in his mouth the whole way.
Oh god.
Kyle conducted the night's interview while consuming hot dogs, and the next night, and the next. Kyle never stopped eating hot dogs. It became part of his personality as much as anything else. Kyle began to not enjoy eating hot dogs at all times, but since it was now expected of him, he continued. Eating hot dogs became nothing more than part of his job, just like getting dressed in the morning in tax forms. Kyle had expanded his professional skill set.
Key cursor. My dog barked. Okay. Unlocks. Now we have that. Unlocked new abilities. Okay. Okay, so that is technically the end of Kyle's famous Kyle's Hot Dog DLC. I think my brain's a little bit fried from the stupidity of all of that. So, this video is a little bit short, but I'm gonna end it here. So if you guys like it, hit that like button, want to see more of my content, hit that subscribe button for me notified whenever I upload, hit that notification bell, and the description links my Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, merch stores, all that fun jazz, along with the game store page link and the game devs link as well. And I will see you guys and whatever I do next. I don't know anymore. Everything is Kyle. Bye, guys.